What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode, and we are here for round number 7 of season 7 of our Jaguar racing career, and it's the one time I get to say the same number for both the round and the season, so I'm very excited for that. It is the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix here today, and I have been looking forward to this one. Obviously we got a victory here last season, and yeah, I mean, it's usually a fairly repetitive race in my experience, because pretty much every year it always starts wet and then goes dry, or I think maybe a couple times it's been the opposite way around, but we always have unpredictable weather changes, that kind of thing. So yeah, we will see whether that proves to be the case here again in season 7. Last time out we were at the Miami Grand Prix, and it was actually Logan Sargent, the hometown hero, that picked up the victory there. We ended up having to settle for P2 behind the homeboy from Florida, and yeah, we're going to see if we can go one better here in Imola today and hopefully get a decent result, preferably a victory like we did last year, but it really remains to be seen what kind of pace we can showcase in the race itself. I'm hoping that Charles Leclerc as well will be able to deliver a strong performance here, because recently he's been struggling to even score more than just a couple of points in a race, and he's quite far down in the championship order. So yeah, it would be nice if he could get some points on the board, but we'll have to wait and see. Weather-wise, let's have a look. It looks like it will be raining for at least part of the race. So there we go. Yeah, 90% chance of rain at the start. That means that effectively it's going to be a wet to dry once again in Emilia-Romagna. It's a wet to dry race. We've never seen that before. Yeah, I mean, look, it means just probably I'll be able to absolutely nail the strategy as I always do, and probably win the race by like 10 seconds, as I often tend to get myself into a position to do. You know, obviously it's dependent on things like safety cars, red flags, all that kind of thing. It could be possible that I just don't have that happen at all. And to be honest with you, I wasn't amazingly optimistic about my chances after practice, because we didn't do that fast of a lap time, and just really I felt like I could have probably done a bit better than I ended up doing. Charles Leclerc up there in P3 though was encouraging to see at the very least. And yeah, we'll see now what he can do, what we can do as we make our way into the qualifying session for the weekend. No sprint here, of course, on this year's game. That was last year's game. We had the Imola sprint race, and yeah, it will be nice to just get a strong qualifying to put us in good stead for the Grand Prix itself. So here we go on our first flying lap in Q1. We're going to be on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, come around the final few corners and come on the run up to the line. What time will it be? It's a 1:13.6. Yikes, that is terrible. That's even worse than the time I did in practice. Okay, well that is not going to be good enough to get me through to Q2 by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, fortunately we did a second flying lap on another fresh set of soft compound tyres, and I mean, once again, it's not like I was doing an absolutely amazing lap time. I even went off the track there, which realistically I probably, if this was real life, would have lost my lap time for, but I mean, look, I can't do anything about the fact that they haven't chosen to delete my lap time in the game. So as we're around the final corner, we're improving by about 1 second. This should hopefully be good enough as we cross the line to 1:12.6, and that is good enough to see us through in P8. Okay, well that was a bit dicey for a second there, because I was a bit worried that it wasn't going to be quite as good as I needed it to be, but in the end we were only 0.02 of a second off of Charles Leclerc. Oscar Piastri goes fastest, Leclerc makes it through, knocked out both Ferraris once again, Verstappen and Perez, along with Stroll, Doohan, Joe and Porsche. So the Ferraris, I would say the big surprise, but look, they've been so underwhelming this season, whether it be reliability issues, they had a double DNF last time out in Miami, or you know, they just generally have performance issues, just can't seem to deliver. We are the dominant force on the Ferrari powertrain side of things, but as we do a 1:13.0 for our banker lap here, I think it's fair to say that we haven't been completely without our fair share of issues this season as well. There's a reason I'm only in 3rd in the Drivers' Championship, and that's because we had a mechanical failure both in Bahrain, where we were competing for the win, and also in where was it? Baku, where I was probably contending for a podium there as well. So yeah, I potentially had sort of 40 points taken away from me so far this season just due to reliability. and yeah, we'll see how that sort of shapes up over the course of the season. It's another 1:12.6 as we cross the line in Q2, and that's just about good enough to see us through to Q3 in P10. But yeah, hopefully we can have a little bit of improvement on the next lap, because yeah, I don't want to be all the way down in P10 come the end of Q3 if I can help it. But we do make it through nonetheless. Knocked out here was De Vries, Lawson, both of the McLarens of Magnussen and Piastri. George Russell, the championship leader, all the way down in P15. So suddenly a good opportunity to catch up with him has presented itself, and then Yuki Tsunoda completes the eliminated drivers in P16. So now we make our way onto the final flying lap of Q3, and I know what you're thinking, what about a banker lap? And well, I had a fault in the car at the start of qualifying that meant that I had to spend 5 minutes repairing it, and by that point it kind of felt like I wouldn't have had enough time to do 2 flying laps. So we decided to go for a bit of a 1-lap magic run and see what we could do. And well, here it is. We round the final corner now, and we're going to come up to the line. It is a 1:12.2, I think, and that is good enough for P10. Yeah, no, nothing. There's a reason I like to do banker laps, and well, we've seen why.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Hauger, Albon and Enzo Fittipaldi. Goodbye for now then, but we are really just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Dennis Hauger bagging pole position. Pretty good stuff there. 4 thousandths of a second separate P2, P3 and P4. Albon, Fittipaldi and Leclerc. And yeah, like I said, it's just P10 for us, starting 2 tenths behind Lando Norris. So yeah, we'll see whether we can make our way forward a little bit in a wet Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix.
Welcome to the home of Ferrari, where the circuit is lined by the scarlet-clad Tifosi in the grandstands. We have a wonderful atmosphere here at Imola. Like most Formula One tracks, Imola is driven anti-clockwise and offers our drivers today just over 3 miles of glistening wet tarmac to negotiate. It's made up of a roughly equal split of 9 right-hand turns and 10 left-hand. Watch the drivers on the way into turn 16. Managing their speed there will be crucial, with the rain only adding to the difficulty of that downhill braking section, which then, of course, leads them into the track's longest straight, though no DRS there today, of course. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Dennis Hauger lines up on pole position, just edging out Alex Albon, who will start from P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Sargent, Ocon, Vesti, Gasly, Fittipaldi, Robinson, De Vries, Liam Lawson, Magnussen, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Russell, Tsunoda, Stroll, Verstappen, Doohan, Perez, Joe, and Teo Pourchaire. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson is with us in the commentary box for this one, and all the planning has gone out of the window because of the weather.
Yeah, it's these kind of conditions where you can go in with one of 2 mindsets. You either see it as an opportunity, or you're worried that all of your hard work's about to be undone. We've been stuck in these conditions now for a few hours, more or less this kind of intensity, so we don't seem to have too much standing water, so we're not likely to be starting behind a safety car. And like you say, Crofty, the charge down into turn 1 will be quite interesting. I think we're in for a cracking Grand Prix.
Okay, this is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix, which means there's a lot of very important people here behind the scenes. I'd love to give them a strong result to watch today, plus a good result might make my post-race meetings a little bit easier.
Well, I'd be more than happy to oblige with a good result here today if the engine was worth a fuck, quite frankly, because, look, I mean, I know that me and Charles Leclerc are starting in the top 10, but all of the other Ferrari-powered cars didn't manage to get higher than P16.
Right, let's get the car up to temperature on this lap,
you know,
please.
if it had been slightly different in qualifying, if Stroll had gone ahead of Tsunoda, it would have been 6 Ferrari-powered cars knocked out in Q1. Both of the Ferraris, both of the Hasses, and Zhou Guanyu in the Alfa Romeo all knocked out in Q1. So if we can deliver points here today, I would say that that is a much better result than probably they were expecting, given the performance of this engine. And well, not only that, but we also have to hope that we can go an entire race without the engine blowing up as well. So yeah, we will see whether that rings to be true or not as the lights come on and the lights go out. And I think we've had a pretty good getaway here, at least compared to Fittipaldi, who had a grid penalty, which is why he's starting down in P8 despite qualifying P3. And, well, we're getting a good run here on Vesti and Gasly as well, by the looks of things. Someone was going very slowly there, and it was holding everyone up. We're going to dive on Gasly and also around the outside of Ocon if we can help it. Switch to the inside. He squeezes us to the inside of the corner, though, and in the end we have to back out. We make a bit of contact with the back of his car. I have no idea how we didn't get front wing damage from that, because, quite frankly, that was one of the biggest hits I think I've ever had on a car in this career mode. So, yeah, very, very lucky to escape without front wing damage. Gasly runs us off the track for good measure as well, just to make sure that we didn't accidentally stay with the cars in front for a change. And, yeah, now we're down into P7. But, yeah, making up a few positions off the start, not too bad. Hopefully we can continue making our way forward. Of course, the only drivers who are ahead of us in the Drivers' Championship right now are Ocon and Russell, who, I mean, Ocon's in P6 at the moment, just ahead of us, but Russell is outside of the points. So, yeah, pretty good chance that we can close up to these guys in the Drivers' Championship if we can help it. But don't forget, we've also got Sargent, Hauger and Vesti in the mix as well, and they're all in the top 5 right now. Vesti in P4, Sargent P5, and then of course Hauger is, I believe, in P2 now, because he lost the lead to Charles Leclerc, actually. We'll see if Leclerc can hold on to this in the absence of me really contending for the win today. And yeah, we're just going to see what we can do, whether we can keep racing with the cars around us, keep them behind, and yeah, we'll see what Leclerc can do as well, whether he can finally deliver his first victory of the season, his first victory since Australia last year. It really has been a bit of a winless drought for the Monegasque drivers. We get our first track limits warning for something very trivial there, and yeah, hopefully we don't have too many more of those. Don't want to be getting any penalties or anything like that. As we make our way onto lap 5, you can see that the gap in front has extended a little bit to 2.6 seconds. Meanwhile, Ocon has stayed right with us, but we have managed to keep him at bay for now. But I mean, there's still a long race to go here, and you can see I'm struggling quite a lot on these tyres in terms of overheating, especially in the sort of technical middle sector, because there's all these fast corners with the rain and the wet tyres. It's just causing me to overheat the tyres so much because I'm putting way too much load through them. It does mean that on some laps I do break away from Ocon quite drastically, but then he basically just catches straight back up to me as things progress. So it'll be interesting to see whether I can keep him at bay for the race or not. And well, also how the weather's going to progress, because don't forget, this is supposed to be a wet to dry, so at some point we're going to have to come into the pit lane. The strategy at the moment is just wet, pit on lap 16, pretty normal for a race like this, but we'll see whether that stays the case or not. As you can see, Esteban Ocon is very, very close to me now. He's actually going to look for a move into turn 1 by the looks of things. We're burning the battery all the way down to turn 1, and we're going to brake a little bit earlier, but we end up still having the superior run through turns 1 and 2, and we make our way back into P6 for the time being. Meanwhile, Sargent, Vesti and the whole gang out in front, Albon, Hauger and Norris as well, breaking away from us quite drastically here. And well, that's not great if I wanted to win this race. I think we're probably not going to be even doing better than P6 unless we can kind of get it right on the strategy, as we make a big mistake into the hairpin there, and that's actually allowed Ocon through on us. I think it's going to be difficult to get back ahead of him now. They were saying that the track was drying out a little bit, and well, I was certainly starting to feel that, especially with the tyres overheating more and more. So on lap 11 I've decided to come into the pit lane to switch over to a set of intermediate tyres, switch off the wet compound tyres and go on to the intermediate tyres, and we'll see whether we can have a bit better pace on these compared to the guys on the wets. I imagine we'll probably only get maybe a 1 or 2 lap advantage over the remainder of the drivers who are out on the track, but nobody else has chosen to pit on this lap. Actually, we're the only one. So if we've called this correctly, this could actually be a bit of a strategic masterclass here from me. As predicted, I might be able to get the strategy right here. I don't know what it is about this track, but I seem to be able to see into the 5th dimension when it comes to the strategy, and yeah, I think that maybe we might have done something well. Again, you can see in just one lap we managed to catch up to Zhou Guanyu by 6.5 seconds, which is pretty good pace. A few cars that came into the pits, Fittipaldi, Perez were the two that came in, so yeah, I mean, Enzo Fittipaldi may be going for a bit of a Hail Mary on the strategy after his grid penalty. He wants to get himself back on the podium if he can help it. As far as I know, he hasn't actually had a podium so far in this career mode, despite being on the grid since Season 1. He was my first teammate, don't forget, all the way back in June and July when we started this career mode. He was my first teammate. We're going to see if we can just clear some of the cars who still are yet to pit at the moment. We got past Joe on the previous lap, going around the outside of my former teammate Jack Doohan now, and up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda as well, and making our way into P16 on track. But it's hard to tell what my net position is right now. Of course, I was P7 when I boxed. I think comfortably I'll be able to clear Esteban Ocon, because we were right behind him when we came into the pit lane. As we're going to dive up the inside of Max Verstappen now, squeeze him out a little bit. He goes off the track, and we're going to have the superior traction on the exit of the corner on these intermediate compound tyres. Of course, they're much fresher tyres as well, so it's like a double whammy of improved tyre performance.
Okay,
so we are significantly faster than most of the cars here, Lance Stroll included, who we're going to out-drag on the run down to the Ravazzas and make our way into P14 now. I imagine a few cars maybe will be coming into the pits again here. Just the one by the looks of things, actually. I don't know if either of these guys in front will be pitting here. But you can see that we are in P13 now as we make our way a little bit later onto lap 15. We're going to see if we can get ahead of Lando Norris on the exit of the hairpin here. He's not having a great race in the Mercedes as Lando Norris. Of course, he did take a grid penalty, 5 places, to push him down into in P14. So he's not really made up that many positions, all things considered. I mean, he's just kind of screwing his race over more and more the longer he waits to pit at this stage, as we get great traction compared to Nick De Vries on the exit of that corner. Surely these guys have to come in for the Inters soon, because it is definitely not wet tyre conditions anymore. I think I have proved this beyond all reasonable doubt as we make our way to the end of lap 16. You can see there are a few cars coming in. I think it's 5 cars in total pitted ahead of me on that lap, so that promotes me up to P6. And well, I don't know now, because Leclerc, Hauger, Albon, Vesti, Magnussen, all of these guys in front, they haven't pitted yet. You know, there's no one that's yet to pit, or sorry, there's no one that has pitted, I should say, in front of me. So there's a chance here I might actually inherit the lead of the race off of my teammate when the rest of these guys do eventually come into pit for the intermediate tyres, because they can't go till the dry on the wet compound tyres, I don't think, because it's still raining. So as we try and dive around the outside of Kevin Magnussen into the chicane, I think that we have a really good chance here of taking the lead of the race, getting ahead of Vesti, Albon, Hauger and Leclerc maybe even as well. And you know, they were a long way ahead of me even before I pitted. You know, they were like 10 seconds up the road from me. I've managed to basically close up all the deficit from that pit stop over the 6 laps of indifference that they had, and that is going to allow me to inherit the lead by a significant chunk. You can see the gap here is substantial as we round the first couple of corners, and I think even Enzo Fittipaldi might be getting past all of these guys as well. Yeah, he has. He's made his way into P2, so it's myself from Fittipaldi from Leclerc, and then Ocon has made his way up into P4 as well. But we have a 10-second advantage now, which with Fittipaldi behind, I think is unlikely that we're going to lose an advantage this strong. So yeah, we're going to make our way onto lap 19, and hopefully... Oh, you have to be joking me. There's no way. 3 times in 7 races. This is a practical joke. It's a practical joke. Ferrari were like, oh, we can't possibly have one of our customer teams outperforming us at our home race, so we're going to absolutely sabotage them. I wouldn't be surprised if Leclerc somehow ends up DNFing as well, even though he literally DNF'd in the previous race. Literally had a component change in the previous race. This is utterly ridiculous. I've had 3 mechanical failures in 7 races. Bahrain, Baku, and here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix as well. 2 of them when I was racing for the lead. This is 65 points, potentially. Maybe you could even make a case for 68 if you want to include fastest lap point as well. But 65 minimum points that I have been deprived of due to mechanical issues so far this season. It's an absolute disgrace.
And that's it then for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And what a sensational victory they've managed to pull off here. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
Well, at least if I couldn't get the victory today, Charles Leclerc finally ends the drought. It's been something like 27 races since his last victory, and he has done it in style at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. You know, the home race of a team that he represented for many, many years before he jumped ship to Jaguar Racing. Finally gets himself a win on the board, will keep us competitive in the Constructors' Championship, and he is flanked by Hauger and Albon.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. So let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for your driver of the day?
Well, my driver of the day has to be Charles Leclerc. He was unstoppable out on the track today, weaving through the competition with ease.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
Well, I just don't even know what to say at this point. You know, I was joking about it at the start of the race, but I didn't for 1 second believe that it would actually happen. You know, I kind of just assumed maybe we were done with the mechanical failures like we have been in previous seasons, where we'll have 1 or 2 maybe early on, and then we won't really have another one for the rest of the season, but that's not proved to be the case. Yes, I'm happy that Charles Leclerc has done well there, but we're down to P5 in the Drivers' Championship now, and it's through no real fault of our own. We'd be leading it if we hadn't had these failures, so it's just immensely frustrating, and I really hope that we can solve these issues really soon. But that is going to be it for this video, so if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.